Welcome to Public Speaking with Peter George. Do you want to be calm, confident, and credible every time you speak in public? Then stay tuned as Peter and his guests discuss public speaking tips, techniques, and tactics that help you increase your impact, influence, and income. Here's your host, the author of The Captivating Public Speaker, Peter George.
Perhaps the most important speech you'll ever give is one that lasts only a few minutes. This speech is commonly known as a toast. My guest on this episode, Eddie Rice, discusses the art of both creating a toast and delivering it. Eddie is the author of the award-winning book, Toast: Short Speeches, Big Impact, which has won the Findaway Voices Times Square Billboard contest. He is also a speechwriter and public speaking coach with 10 years of experience in the field. He loves creating strong, narrative-driven speeches that focus on balancing emotional and thought leadership content. Eddie has worked with executives, business leaders, nonprofit leaders, and everyone in between. Here's my conversation with Eddie Rice. Welcome to the show, Eddie.
Thank you, Peter. It's great to be here.
Eddie, we're going to look at something that's a little different in public speaking. As a matter of fact, a lot of people might not even think of it when you say, hey, what's public speaking to you? And that's giving toast. What made you say, this is something that people need help with?
It really came about because of the clients that I've worked with. So I'm a speechwriter, and I enjoy helping people put together all different types of speeches, whether it's a wedding toast, a TED Talk, a keynote speech. I can help them write it and put it together. What I found was about 25% of my clients really needed help with the short toast, the wedding toast, the retirement speech, the birthday toast, whatever it was. And I just kept getting the same questions over and over again. So that clued me into there was a need in the marketplace to address it and say, hey, here's a short guide on how to give a toast.
And how have you found it received?
If I put money behind the book and advertise it and market it, people end up buying it and they write to me and say that they love it. And I think it's because these toasts are at such small moments in our lives, but they're really big moments.
Yes, they are.
And you might be up there for 3 to 5 minutes giving a toast, but it's at somebody's wedding, it's at somebody's birthday, it's at somebody's retirement, and it's a big moment in their lives. And there's a lot of people out there, most people just don't want to get it wrong. And so that anxiety, I believe, drives the need to want to know more about how do I package such a message in 3 minutes, 5 minutes? What do I do? What do I say? How do I stand? Where do I hold the microphone? All of those questions. And I was able to answer them in the book.
Nice to hear that there are people who want to get it right. What's that golden nugget that people hear and say, oh, I never knew that, and that's really going to help?
I think there's a few things that I tell people. First, the goals of any toast are to honor the person and honor the event. If you can nail those two things with your toast, you're going to have a really good speech that you gave. And that's where a lot of toasts go awry, is they are not honoring a person or they're not honoring the event. That's where you get into those crude toasts, the ones that are more of a roast, or it's the type of ones that land up on YouTube where the person got completely drunk or blew off preparing their toast, that it just went in the toilet and it was no good. So it's a lot of just understanding what your goals are, not stealing the spotlight on the given day. And then, of course, understanding that you're there to honor somebody else and not your own self. And if you can keep those things in mind, you're going to have a great speech.
What are some of the actual things people should do when they're sitting down and saying, I'm going to write this talk, best man speech or maid of honor speech, whatever it might be? How should they begin? What should the middle look like? How about the ending?
First, I like it when people actually tell you who they are and how they're related to the person that they're toasting. Because if you're at a wedding, it's very possible that half the crowd doesn't know who you are. If you're in one side of the bridal party or the groom's party or whichever, side you come on, at least introduce yourself and say some nice words to welcome people. And then I really love building a toast around great stories. So if you have about 3 to 5 minutes to speak and keep it short, find just one really great story that you can tell that honors the person that you are toasting. And then with the closing part, I love it when you find a book, a song, a movie that you can quote from that's personal to the couple getting married, and you can use that in your ending toast. So you say, everyone raise a glass, and the couple's first song tonight is the following, and I really love this line from it. You give the line, and then you can just say cheers. And that's a really cool way of making that ending part unique and not just falling back on a cliche you might have found on the internet.
Which is, I'm sure, what a lot of people do, because like a lot of talks, people just don't give a lot of thought to how they're going to end it.
Exactly. And that's where it comes down to just a lot of preparation, a lot of rehearsal. And I love it when people kind of balance out the amount of time they take to write the speech, but also rehearse it as well. So if you've got a month, you should spend about 2 weeks on writing it, but another 2 weeks on rehearsing it so it comes off incredibly well rehearsed and prepared, rather than you trying to give it for the first time at the actual ceremony.
Now, you mentioned 3 to 5 minutes. Do you find people, if they don't rehearse a lot, will end up going over that?
I think it goes both ways. I think part of it is if you don't prepare, you might just completely forget parts of the speech that you wanted to say, and it becomes too short and you didn't get to say everything that you wanted to say. Or in the case that you're bringing up, yeah, people, when they get super nervous and all that adrenaline is flowing through them, they ramble. They start coming up with more things to say. They repeat themselves, and they're just stumbling over their own words. And it becomes this kind of jumbled mess that goes on for 10 minutes or more. And that's not a good place to be in either, because you got to realize there's so many things that happen at the wedding reception. There's others people that have to speak. Going on for a long period of time is not going to be fair for any of those things.
No, and it gets pretty darn boring after a while.
Yeah, that too.
What are some of the other tips you can give people so they can look back and be happy with what they did?
Well, when it comes to writing the speech, you want to make sure that you've also addressed both members of the wedding couple. Very often, or too often, people only talk to one member of the couple and not the other. And so you don't want to leave them out. But if you are looking for a really solid performance for the whole thing, what I ask people to do is what's called scaffold and memorization to help prepare them for the speech. And all it is you take the speech itself, you write it out, and you rehearse it a number of times to where you're comfortable with it. Then you write it out again as kind of a skeleton outline. You give your speech from that outline, and then you pull back more and more parts from that outline to where you just only have bullet points in the end. What this does is it helps you memorize and internalize the speech, and you are much more prepared when you go up there, where you're not reading it off of a piece of paper, and instead you're really giving it from memory, and your note cards or your bullet points are just there as backup. And I think that really puts people in a really better spot than trying to read off of a cell phone or a piece of paper for the first time giving their speech.
Are you ready to be the captivating public speaker you've been striving to be? Then schedule your free call with Peter at petergeorgepublicspeaking.com/call. Again, that's petergeorgepublicspeaking.com/call. Now back to Peter and his guest.
It's like anything else. If you're not prepared, it'll show.
Exactly. And just go the old school route. Use paper instead of a cell phone, because at the same time, this bothers photographers. The backlight from the cell phone hits your face.
That's a good point.
And it interferes with the pictures that the people are taking during your toast. So that's another thing too. And also, cell phones die. It's at the end of the day, and you're probably on like 5% battery when you're giving the toast. And that's not a place that you want to be in. So use piece of paper, use 3x5 note cards, go old school, go analog. Those things are not going to fail you.
I worry about that when I'm getting on a plane. I inevitably rely on my phone, and I know someday I'm going to be shocked when I look down and go, my phone died.
Yeah, it happened to me the other day. I was going through an airport and my boarding pass wouldn't pull up. And they were like, you have to go back to the end of the line, print it out. And this was after standing in line for an hour.
If they have it on paper, they've rehearsed it, they thought it through thoroughly. What else can they do to make this as good as it should be for that couple?
You want to get comfortable holding the microphone appropriately. This happens to a lot of speakers where this is their first time holding a microphone or they haven't held one in a while. And you want it placed pretty close to your mouth to the point where if you had a mustache, it might be actually touching the microphone. And also you want to make sure that you aren't gesturing too much with the microphone in your hand to the point where it goes down at your side and you try and speak. That's a problem as well. So if you can, ahead of time, talk to a DJ that you know or someone else with a microphone, get a cheap one off of Craigslist, and at least practice with it so that you can be comfortable on the actual day. And that's going to make things just a little bit easier. I've also heard people say, treat it like an ice cream cone. You can position it that way as well, and that'll help you deliver rather than worrying about where should it go? Is it too close? Is it too far away? And that's going to, hinder people actually hearing your speech if you mess up how you're holding the microphone.
What do you say to the people who say, you know what? I speak loudly. I won't need a microphone. Because let's face it, mics make some people nervous if they're not used to them.
They definitely do. If it's a super small wedding, I think you could probably get away with it if you are truly a person that can project and you can get heard everywhere. But you got to remember that not everyone in the room has the same hearing capacity. There could be people that are hard of hearing. There could be people that are just in the back of the room. The acoustics could be bad, where you're definitely going to want to use a microphone and just be prepared to use it. And even if you don't like it, hey, it's 3 to 5 minutes. You can get over it for that point just to make sure that the happy couples day remains happy.
It seems to me whenever I've heard someone say that, this is usually at a business meeting and they go, I don't need the mic. I speak loudly. Inevitably, they don't. They just think they do.
Yeah, perception is a weird thing when it comes to public speaking. Like when you pause, you think it's for forever. And in everyone else's mind, it's like a split second. And people think, oh, I pause. And then you're thinking, no, you don't. Not at all. Same thing with the projection issue.
Any last things that'll help them? I mean, you've gone over a ton of things, and these are all excellent ideas.
I think the key thing is that you want to start earlier than expected when preparing your toast. I think there are too many people that wait until the last minute. They need that procrastination adrenaline to kick themselves into gear. I've been guilty of that myself just in my own life, where it's like I need a deadline to make me do something. But at the same time, you want to at least start coming up with ideas, running ideas past other people, and even practicing your speech in front of other people that can give you critical feedback. You don't want the person who's too negative or the person that's too positive. You want to find someone who's kind of like right in the middle that can tell you how it is, but can still give you effective feedback. I think that's another route that not a lot of people go down, is find someone who can give you great feedback on your toast before you get up there. And that could also save you and the happy couple a lot of grief on the given day. If you can't find somebody to rehearse with, you can still use a voice recorder app on your phone, give the speech, play it back, and you're going to hear a lot of good phrases, awkward phrases, stuff that you want to edit, jokes that don't land well. You're going to hear that when you play it back. So even if you don't have somebody in your life, you at least have a voice recorder app on your phone, and that can help you really hear your toast before you get up there and give it. It's a really great self-editing tool that I would fall back on if you don't have someone to rehearse it in front of.
Eddie, these have been wonderful ideas, and they'll certainly help people who are going to give toasts, whether it's a wedding or another event. Where can they find more information about this, your book, and contact you if they'd like?
Sure. So you can find my book on any bookstore's website. It's available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook versions. It's called Toast, Short Speeches, Big Impact. And then you can find more about me at ricespeechwriting.com. That's RICE, just like the food, followed by the word speechwriting.com. You can find me there, and I can help you out with any stage of the process, whether it's brainstorming, structure, writing, editing, rehearsing. I can help you through with any speech, but especially the wedding toast. I can definitely help you out. So please, I'd love to hear from you.
That's great. Eddie, this has been a lot of fun, and thanks for being here.
Peter, thank you so much. It was wonderful.
That's a wrap of another episode of Public Speaking with Peter George. Be sure to tune in again for a conversation with another public speaking expert. And remember to use the link in the show notes to go to Amazon and check out Peter's acclaimed book, The Captivating Public Speaker.